colleges at the moment. There are 93 sixth form colleges that specialise, that do predominantly look at A-level and provide A-level courses, but also do a range of level 1, 2 and 3 courses as well. In land-based colleges, and they specialise in courses around animal care and agriculture and areas like that. And 2 specialist art and design colleges, this also exists. So we're talking about quite a large number of colleges that are involved in area reviews potentially. So area reviews in July. An announcement came from the government, from the Skills Minister Nick Bowles, about it's called the institutions, reviewing post-16 education and training institutions, sorry. And the quote on there is from the guidance, and it's directly from Nick Bowles about the reason why area reviews are happening. So it's about building strong training institutions which have a high status and genuine centres of expertise. Also, at a time when we're asking all publicly funded institutions to consider how they can be more efficient, which is kind of a staple word at the moment, I think, with any government announcement, it's right that we review post-16 provision in every area. So what does that mean? The move that is being put forward, that the FE sector moves to having fewer, larger, more resilient and efficient colleges. You can read into that what you think those 4 words exactly mean, but one of the things that is being proposed under this is that there will be increased specialisation of campuses. And what we mean by that is that rather than having a large number of colleges who deliver a whole range of different courses accessible to lots of different people, what we will have instead is increased specialisation of campuses, where specific campuses will almost become centres of excellence and deliver a specific type of course. Those of you who were in the chat earlier, I posted in the chat window a link where there are 2 views on whether people feel college specialisation in FE is a good thing or not. So do have a look in the chat window, and I will repost the link there for you if you want to have a look at that later. Reviews will be for general FE colleges and sixth form colleges themselves, and they're expected to take part in each area. There'll also be input from various people in local communities, so there'll be the local authority, local councils, local enterprise partnerships, which probably are made up of representatives from business in each area, and there's some sort of LEPs. Local employers will be involved, and also various other people, regional schools commissioners as well, will be involved. So whilst this is talking about reviewing post-16 education and training institutions, actually one of the challenges that has been put forward to this process is that it's very difficult to review the whole offer of post-16 education and training when there are only colleges involved in this process. School sixth forms and academies and universities in local areas won't be invited to be part of that, although they can participate if they want to and if they're invited to. So that's kind of where this is coming from. The process is that there will be a series of meetings that take place in each area, and those meetings will be made up of college principals and chairs of governors from each of the colleges in a particular area. And at those meetings, they will meet to review the curriculum offer, so the types of courses that are offered in a particular area. They will review the estate, so what buildings, what resources do we have available to us across all of the different colleges. And they will come up with a strategy of what we call rationalisation, which is essentially looking at how can we deliver these things more effectively, often more cheaply, in a world where, there is a lot less funding available for FE. Colleges are invited to take part individually in the process, and the actual decisions of what happens in the future will be made by individual boards. So at the fourth meeting, there will be a discussion about the options that are available, and then those options will go back to each corporation board of each college in that area for them to agree the way forward. And then those will come, the agreements will come back to the fifth meeting with feedback on decisions, and then there will be a plan put forward for implementation to move forward with what will essentially be fewer, larger, more resilient and efficient colleges. So, a question that we often find is that people ask is, why is this happening? And as much as we can say that it is about simplifying the offer, it is about making things more efficient and higher quality, essentially this comes down to money. The National Audit Office in July stated that there was a rapid decline in the financial status of 244 institutions across England. Now, I think that there are, as I said before, there are in total 335 colleges that are part of these colleges. That means that there's nearly 3/4 that are in financial rapid decline, and a lot of that has come from the huge cuts to the adult skills budget and various other cuts to enrichment and areas like that colleges have had to deal with over the last 5 years or so. And the challenge that we have now is that colleges have essentially had to structure and change their approach to make sure that they are still financially solvent, and they're essentially cut bare now. There is not a lot else that you can cut and still continue to run as an effective institution and ensure that there is a quality education experience available. There are other cuts that have happened. So there was in July, colleges have prepared for an adult skills budget cut of 24%, and then we're told that there was another nearly 4% cut to that budget as well, which meant colleges had to react very quickly. And colleges have faced around a 40% cut to their budgets over the last 5 years, mainly to adult learning provision. This is despite the fact that adult learning is vital to getting people reskilled or upskilled into decent jobs and trying to increase the productivity, I suppose, of the country by getting people trained and back into work. The situation that we're in, I'm sorry, it's not particularly cheery at the moment. I'm aware I think we've got people in at the moment, but are there any questions or thoughts? I'll leave it just for a minute. If anyone's got any questions or thoughts and wants to post them in the chat window, or please feel free. Or comments at this point, so that's fine. So we'll move on. So there have been 6 area reviews that have been announced so far, and they are taking place in various points across the country. Now, I was going to do a bit of a quiz to see how quickly people could recognise landmarks in particular areas, but as there's only Adrian and Sarah, I think, in the chat at the moment, you're more than welcome to have a head-to-head competition on this. Otherwise, we'll just tell you where each of the area reviews are happening. So the first one, there are 4 further education colleges involved and 3 sixth form colleges. That area, I think anyone's going to answer. So, and that is in Birmingham. So there are 7 colleges involved in the area review in Birmingham. This one is the largest area review that's been proposed so far, which is in Manchester, and there are 10 general FE colleges and 7 sixth form colleges that are involved in that area review. And what the challenge is, if you think about the fact that colleges are going to have to go back and agree individually to what has been proposed, that we have a situation where potentially, there are 21 colleges that will all need to agree a way forward within their area, and that poses huge problems specific around there. The next area is Sheffield, and it's sort of Sheffield and district, I suppose, because there are 8 general FE colleges and 2 sixth form colleges involved in Sheffield, and those providers in that area stretch from North Nottinghamshire College right the way up to Barnsley College and including Doncaster. So there is a huge area involved in that particular review. That will be posted with that is the idea of travel to learn for students and how they would have to travel in order to access their education. And Sarah wrote in her blog a couple of weeks ago about the change that promotes for access for people and how they can access their education. If somebody lives in Chesterfield and has to travel all the way to Barnsley in order to access their education, what does that mean? How can they possibly go and study the course that they want to do in that particular area? Travel to learn is going to be a huge issue that NUS will be looking at and trying to make the case to colleges and area review boards about that. 3 area reviews in particular are focused on where there are devolution deals on the table, so where particular authorities are looking to be given more responsibility over setting things like local education policy and funding and things like that. Manchester is probably one of the most the highest profile one at the moment, by way of a devolution deal being put forward by George Osborne. There is Tees Valley up in the northeast, and there are 6 FE colleges and 4 sixth form colleges involved in that area review. One is Sussex, which is very, very pretty, and there are 8 FE colleges and 3 sixth form colleges involved in the Sussex region. The final one is sort of and around Southampton. I'm sure Portsmouth fans won't be happy with me putting a picture of Matt Le Tissier in this presentation, but there are 7 general FE colleges and 6 sixth form colleges involved in that particular area review. Also expecting another one to be announced in November. I'm not entirely sure where that one will be announced. We have some insight that it may be somewhere in the north. Possibly, I think Yorkshire was one that was mooted. Also, Cheshire was another one as well. So we're not sure until they are announced officially. With area reviews is that we'd expect, with such a large amount of reorganisation and bringing together, in some cases like Manchester, over 20 colleges to agree a way forward, there'd be a degree of time taken over this. There'd be a lot of time and response, and lots of research into what goes on and what the provision is before decisions are made. The fact is that they're already here and they are already happening. Those 6 that we've said so far are already underway. The government expects that all area reviews will be completed by March 2017, and those area review processes, as we said before, is expected to happen within 3 to 4 months and conclude over those 5 meetings. We are in a position where potentially there can be anywhere between 6 and 10 area reviews happening at any one time across England. And things are going to move extremely quickly. And we as an organisation and student unions as well need to make sure that we keep up with them and that we are able to feed the learner voice into these area reviews, but also start to prepare institutions and unions to respond to what might happen in the future with any potential mergers and anything else at that point. Essentially will be mergers. We know that's going to happen. We know there will be colleges that will be forced to merge. There were 2 pilot reviews that took place in England, one in Norfolk and one in Nottingham. Review in Norfolk, the outcomes of that were that there were 5 sixth form colleges that have agreed to look at options to work more closely together strategically. That might be sharing back office function, so things like student services, things like IT facilities, those would all be brought under one banner and shared across all of those institutions. In Nottingham, there was a big merger that's been proposed and is being worked through at the moment between Central College Nottingham and North Notts College as well. So that is a formal merger that's taking place there. And we know from where this happened previously in the nation, in Scotland, when the SNP-led government announced this 3 years ago and went through that process, and also in Wales, where colleges have brought themselves together and regionalised, and the same in Northern Ireland, that college cannot function in the way that they do with funding that they've now been left with, and colleges are finding that the way to one of the proposals to do that is to bring colleges together and share those functions. Mergers obviously mean a whole raft of issues thrown up for learners prepared to feed those in. Things that I've already mentioned about travel to learn, about challenges around specialisation, potentials to curriculum, reduction in people being able to access services, student services, counselling services, etc. These are all challenges for learners that might during mergers. Mergers are a bad thing and are not always a bad thing. Shakira said a few weeks ago in her blog that obviously we are by of the savage cuts that have happened to further education over the last 5 years, it is colleges would be in this position and have ended up in this position because of the cuts that the government have made to adult skills funding and further education as a whole. Maybe an option to make sure that colleges can continue to deliver quality education to a particular area and to learners in that area. So there may be a silver lining in all of this, I think, is what we're trying to say. And one of the things we're also trying to do is trying to learn from some of the challenges that happened in Scotland, in Wales, and in Northern Ireland as well. And we'll come on to kind of what happened in Scotland in a little while with regards to students' unions themselves. But it's worth saying kind of our own response to this and NUS's response to this. We're into a national policy response, and it's the priority policy is being put forward by Shakira and the Further Education Zone. So our own conference is in a couple of weeks' time in Bradford. This will be the main topic of discussion for the FE zone. The questions here, although we are down to one attendee, but that's fine. Shakira, did you have anything to add at this point about kind of what's been proposed?
Okay, yeah. So fortunately, for our fortunate for biz, that I'm a part of the advisory board in the area reviews, which is good in being importance of having learners being part of the process. So 2 meetings so far, where I suggested the importance of having a diverse in the process, so ensuring that there are professionals in minority ethnic groups as part of the board, the area review board, and learners need to be a part of this process. Up until now, I haven't really been happy with the amount of input learners have or what is happening. Today, Gareth and myself, we had a meeting with who is the civil servant who is leading on this, and we were able to put forward some of our asks and what we want to see of this. So we're doing is we're setting up round table events for each area review, where we'll be inviting students and student governors to come in and to feed into what they expect, what access and learner voice, the importance of quality access and voice within the process. Agreed with Bobby that the report we have from each roundtable would be directly into the overall review board, if that makes sense. Another one of our arcs is about having a voice within this process and how to ensure that there is a place for student engagement within the mergers. One thing that I suggested is in Scotland, when they had the realisation, the Scotland agency funded for sabbatical offers within student unions, which has proven to be very effective and help support the colleges in ensuring that there's quality teaching and learning for students. We're a long way from guaranteeing that we would get that. She was open to us developing a formula in how that could be done within the institution.
I think just going back to some of the points around kind of the practical stuff around how NUS is going to support student unions in responding to area reviews. As Shakira said, one of the key things was making sure that students don't completely lose their voice in this process, and that learners are able to contribute their views, not necessarily just on whether area reviews are a good thing or a bad thing. I think we can comment on that, we can form policy on that, but they are already underway, and one of the things that is difficult is for us to be able to say whether a process is ideal, given that it's where the situation it's where we're left due to kind of quite severe cuts that we've fought for the last 5 years. One of the key areas around area roundtables that we want to do is to bring together the student union in each of the colleges and the student governors, because they're going to have a key role in making these decisions. To an area roundtable during the process to discuss what it is that is important and what the expectations are for further education in their area. And as Shakira said, it will be around those 3 areas. So what they expect makes up a quality educational experience. That's around access to resources, that's around teaching and learning, that's around tutors. It's all those things that students expect when they say, I'm going to start this course and I expect it to be of a high enough quality, particularly for those adult learners who are taking out advanced learner loans now in order to access it. Second point is around access, as Shakira said, and we've already talked about things around travel to learn and around transport, things that enable students to be able to access their education in the first place. So is it around courses being offered in their local area? Is it around is it a level of funding and student support that's available, particularly for maybe students with caring responsibilities? So there are a whole raft of things that we really want to make sure that students are bringing together their views on and their points, because as we've already kind of said, from the people who raise these points that haven't been considered by principals and college governors, and they're going to be making the decisions. Absolutely want to make sure that the voice of them is prominent within each area review. I'm quite pleased Shakira's been really hard to get Biz agree and to set up a framework where they will support us in making sure that president and student governors are able to attend that NUS can support those officers who are in that to formulate a report that will go to the area review board. And obviously when these proposals go back to each individual corporation in each college, that student governors are fully aware of what's going on and that they understand the options that have been put forward, and that student governors have a really important role in being able to make sure that whatever decision is made moving forward is in the best interests of students. And the people in the sector who talk about students being at the heart of education, students being at the heart of institutions, we want to make sure that the student voice is too powerful to ignore within that room. third point moving forward, and the third thing that we'll look at in area review, area roundtables, is a idea of a framework for learner voice moving forward. Kira mentioned about Scotland and the funding that was given to student unions in there to establish effective students' associations, in Scotland, to establish those bodies and establish student associations. And that's something that Shakira is going to be lobbying Biz over. That's something that NUS going and lobbying people about it and lobbying civil servants and the minister to try and make that happen is important. But also one of the things that we want to do is make sure that students' unions are also lobbying their local MPs and their local councillors about this. Because where there are things that will affect students, it's important that the key policy makers with each institution and in each area are aware of what's going on, and there's no better way of doing that than unions going and talking to those people and lobbying them. Is going to be producing a lobbying pack for students' unions, which we will give out at the area reviews to help students' unions to go and talk to their MPs about what's happening with area reviews, about what's important to them in their education, and about how learners feel that they need to have effective students' unions and learner voice systems in place well into the future in merged institutions. Available about that in each of the area roundtables and each of the area review processes, and we're just piecing that together at the moment. And then finally, one of the things that we're really keen to do moving forward is to develop a framework for learner voice and make sure that students' unions form part of the sector moving forward, form part of a learner voice system. It exists in every single college. That Biz seemed open to, I think, yesterday when we went and spoke to them about us proposing the development of a new framework for learner voice and student unions that then we can support colleges to establish, but that also sets out almost expectations by way of the level of resource, the level of funding, the level of budget we expect from institutions and from the government, and we'll of course be looking at things, ways in which we can support unions better, perhaps through extra or other commercial opportunities that might exist there. So that on area reviews, obviously we'd expected it to go on slightly longer because we thought we might have a few more attendees. Shakira?
Yeah, I just wanted to just add a few more points. So with the roundtables, I'm aware that it doesn't necessarily maximise the amount of student voice because it's the presidents and governors that we're inviting. But for the roundtables, what we do want to do after that is develop a way or model how we can the student population. And we haven't got an exact model of how best to do that, but we are working on a way to make it understandable for students and for them to be able to become more actively involved. Also, once the board reviews have taken place and they put that forward to the colleges have a consultation period where they're able to discuss, and that's where the student membership can get more actively involved, campaigning on things that would affect them directly.
And that's where mergers specifically are proposed. There'll be a further consultation period for mergers as well. So
and in addition to that, what I would to do is I'm trying to spread the message myself as much as I can amongst the membership, having one-to-one conversations with students and student union presidents, where that is kind of like a stigma where you don't want to put students off coming to the college and enrolling because it is still business as usual. But I really strongly recommend staff, especially with those in leadership positions, course reps, just to give them like a heads up of what to kind of expect. In addition, I just want to speak about Ofsted and just let you know about Ofsted. They said is that it's going to be business as usual, so they're not going to be letting anything go in regards to quality teaching and learning, which I think is really important to ensure students get the best outcome out of this. But one good thing is that they're talking about when colleges do get merged to them within a 3-year period. What I'm trying to emphasise is that word within, to make sure that it's at 18 months. So that's something that I'm working with the chief exec of Ofsted.
Yeah, worth saying that the need for colleges in kind of a post-merger situation, that there will be so much to sort out, that we're really keen that student unions continue to talk about student experience now and continue to challenge where students aren't getting the best qualification that they should have or aren't able to access their education. You know, the system does still go on during this, and we're concerned that the senior leaders and governors will be looking elsewhere whilst all area reviews are going on. So we really need student unions to be continually challenging leadership, continuing to do the great work that student unions do in standing up and making sure that students get a quality education. And post kind of mergers, we want to make sure that colleges aren't trying to get everything in place because there's a threat that Ofsted could come at any moment. And I think Shakira is really keen to make sure that we say, okay, well, an inspection will happen. Rather than rushing because Ofsted might drop in at any possible moment within that 3-year period. Yeah.
And just one more thing as well is just about something that I did with yesterday, and it's just about the wider social issues that could come. So in Manchester, then Birmingham, maybe Nottingham in particular, gang culture, hate crime, and how that could have an impact on safeguarding and safety, with being able to travel to different postcodes and feeling safe to that. And I want to speak a bit more about those that have childcare arrangement and caring responsibilities, and to do some work around. We know that often in level 3 and above, you sacrifice and make the decision to travel further. However, those with entry levels in level 1 and level 2, they like to stay in their community because of their other commitments. So we just want to make that clear throughout the whole process. Although it's a sticky situation, I think what we're so great in is FE is adapting to change. And I do think that there could be something positive coming out of this in regard to learner voice and student union structures, as that is one of our priorities anyway for the year. But I appreciate all your work, and I can know how difficult it is on that. But if you have questions, me and Gareth are more than happy and help you in any way possible.
Absolutely. I would pause for questions. I'm aware that we've got Sarah and somebody else who has just joined the webinar, Tony.
Hello, Tony.
Hi. Unfortunately, Tony, we've just finished, but we are going to put the recording of this webinar online as soon as we possibly can, and we'll let you know when that goes up. If there are any questions, Sarah or Tony in particular, do free to post them in the chat window in the next couple of minutes, and I'll just quickly talk through some of the useful links that are there. So these are all links to the government UK website around the post-16. I always forget what it's actually called. The post-16 review of education and training institutions. Let's go with that. That's fine. So there is a policy statement is on there. So the initial policy announcement is there. The guidance that's been made available to providers about the exact process of area reviews and how they will happen. It doesn't include things around the area roundtables because that's something that we've got agreement on since then. Those will still happen. And you can keep up to date with a list of where the current area reviews are and the colleges that are involved in that process by clicking that third link there, and that will be updated whenever there are new people and new colleges that are announced there. Obviously, Tony, I know you've only just joined, so it might not be great to add this, but Shakira will give you a call after. But if you hover over or it might not be there, I'll post the actual feedback link, which I will do for you. I want to make sure that we get feedback from each of these so try and get hold of the link for the feedback so you can fill that in. So do please, once I post it, spend a couple of minutes giving us your feedback on that. Finally, if there are any kind of questions or thoughts or concerns, we'll obviously be talking about this at Festival, which is in a couple of weeks' time, and it will be the key focus for the FE zone. So do come along to these events or keep track of them when they happen. But if there are any questions in the meantime, obviously Shakira is the main officer lead. This is Vice President Further Education, and I'm picking up the lead for area reviews from a staff perspective. Do feel free to email one or both of us about that and ask us any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are any more questions, Tony, Shakira will give you a ring. Then thank you very much for your time, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.